Warning. The following podcast contains explicit language, honest opinions and a sense of humor. Welcome to the Brothers Take.
Hello everyone and welcome back to our podcast. I'm Chris, joined by my brothers Adam and Eric.
Hey.
Hello. And we are back in the room to talk more about video games. And in this week's episode, we're kind of reflecting on the fact that we're excited about entering a new generation of gaming and gaming consoles. But we were thinking about people who don't play games or who aren't necessarily gamers. Maybe they're very casual gamers and they don't really get the whole hype about this thing. Why do we even have a podcast where we talk about games and pretty much exclusively games? How could we have that many games to talk about? And for so fucking long as well. How for an hour and a half at a time can we actually talk about games? And so we wanted to ask ourselves the question of what game would we recommend to a non-gamer to get them into gaming, to get them interested in gaming?
To get them hooked, whereas
yeah,
they have to get their next fix.
Yeah, so that they then listen to our podcast and subscribe. No, no, that's not the goal. No, it's a fun topic. It's an interesting one, and we would love as well that if you're listening to us on YouTube, that you could jump into the comments to let us know what game you would recommend to people, or maybe games that you have recommended to people that effectively did get them into gaming or get them to understand, like, oh, okay, I can see the appeal of why people play games now, or what your interest is. And if you're listening to us on audio platforms, then get in touch social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, similarly, to let us know any game you would recommend to non-gamers to get them into gaming, and to let us know what you think about the games that we have selected and the reasons that we have selected them. We haven't discussed this with each other beforehand because, again, we like to keep our conversations quite natural and spontaneous. We don't want to know exactly what's going to come up. So I'm looking forward to hearing what the guys are going to say. And they are not looking forward to hearing what I'm going to say. I'm only joking. So yeah, there's no need for much preamble before that. Once the music hits, we're going to jump straight into discussion. We're talking about games that we would recommend to non-gamers to get them on our side of the board. So let's talk video games. Okay, so who would like to go first? Eric, you actually said you had a few in mind.
Yes, because
So I'd love to know what way you're approaching this.
What's with your mind?
What's on? Where is your mind? Where is your mind?
So this kind of comes from past experiences
Okay.
of, well, for lack of a better word, dealing with people who are not gamers, right?
Dealing with.
them.
Whoa,
Yeah. Well, I said.
When I go to the supermarket to get a bottle of milk, I gotta deal with non-gamers out there. They're a violent, rowdy crowd. I gotta tell you.
Tricky business. Make sure you bring the pitchfork and torch.
Yeah, you gotta weave your way through these non-gamers out there.
Hold back the hordes. So when I'm encountering, for lack of a better word, non-gamers.
Encountering.
You're just having a conversation with people, like.
No. I don't have conversations. I talk at them.
I lecture.
Anyway, what I've learned from the past is fun multiplayer games tend to work best with people who are absolutely not gamers, have no interest in gaming at all.
Okay.
If you know someone like that and it's a rainy, cold night and you're stuck in the house with them and you can't go anywhere and there's nothing else to do.
Right.
Your scenarios are so specific.
Yeah, when you say you're drawing from past experiences, it's actually a past experience, is it? It's actually a very specific past experience.
Back in 1962.
Sounds like Dracula's journal, only with, like, I don't know, trying to.
Yeah.
I was just Mario Kart anyway.
Wow. Okay, I wasn't
Yes.
expecting that at all.
That is a fun one. You can get that with the Wii, and the Wii is very cheap. I don't even know if it's still around, but it's cheap, and pretty much everyone has one.
Everyone has one.
Everyone has
Every
one.
family had one pretty much.
Sure.
Absolutely. So Mario Kart is an absolutely great one. But you can also get a Nintendo Switch, which is a great console as well. Plug that up to the whole TV, and everyone can play. So that's
It's, with Mario Kart. Do you have to
Right.
have now? I actually have not played Mario Kart. Believe it or not, even at friends' houses, I have missed out on the whole. I knew about it. I've missed out on the whole Mario Kart thing. Never played it. Do you have to have those like wheel attachments that they brought out?
No.
Put your Wii remote in, or can you just with
No,
the
no.
Wii remote?
Yeah, you just play with the. I actually think it's harder with the wheel.
Really? Okay.
Yes, when I'm gonna drive a car, I'm gonna hook up a Wii remote just to the, and then I'll drive the car that way.
And okay, so is that game? Is it like specifically Mario Kart, or are you basically suggesting any racing game?
No, specifically Mario Kart.
Okay, so what's the draw for Mario Kart?
Well, it's childish, it's fun, you got the abilities and stuff like that. They're also really quick and easy to play. And also just gets everyone that kind of competitive mindset.
Yeah.
So for non-gamers, there's nothing really to think about. It's not trying to be the next gen best graphics in the world, like, you know what I mean? It's just trying to be a fun family game, and therefore that can work for anybody, really, because of the style it is.
Have you played Mario Kart? Adam?
Oh yeah, I have Mario Kart. I would say
You have it?
like
Shit,
it's
it's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is really good.
No.
It's easy to play, easy to get in, but difficult to master.
Wow. You should
It really
put
is.
that on a t-shirt.
Like the,
I'm easy to play, difficult to master.
so I would say like you know, in certain situations, like
Like a cold rainy night where you're
it-
stuck with somebody?
well, I think if you had a group of people wanting to play games, and if like maybe the group is not so into gaming,
Yeah.
then Mario Kart is perfect. But I think if I actually had someone and I introduced them to Mario Kart for the first time, like I'm not a great Mario Kart player, but I would absolutely annihilate them at Mario Kart
Right.
Yeah.
because it doesn't really tell you how to play the game. You kind of figure it out as you play. Like yes, there's the turning and just acceleration and firing your weapon. There's a lot more to it though.
Here's something I'm wondering then, just on because actually Adam, you've raised kind of an interesting point for me. So Eric, is this for someone like who's not into gaming and just to get through the night, to find a common ground of some sort of activity you can do to get over the night, or is this something where you're like after this they will want to play games on their own?
No. This is just like
Okay.
we're all bored. Yeah, a group of us were bored. Let's slap on some Mario Kart. 'cause
I
it's a
didn't
fun
even perceive
activity.
the question that way. That's really interesting. Like I didn't even look at it as like to get them into gaming just for the time being. I was looking at it as like the long haul. Like how could you actually get them in so that they see the appeal of gaming in general?
Well, no. Well, in that
that's
case,
an
then,
interesting one.
if let's say I was dealing with somebody who liked films, right?
Who what?
Right,
Like
who
films.
likes films or something like that. So Mario Kart is
A
for
rare
someone
breed.
for someone who not really into films, not really into like the whole make believe stuff, right? Mario Kart again, past experiences, right? Then if I'm dealing with someone who likes films, likes to make believe,
You're like a game broker or something. It's like I got a new client here. I tell you who I'm dealing with. Yeah, go ahead.
Come to me for all the recommendations for particular brands. Yeah, I deal with like I suggest things maybe like PT if PT is being sold, like because most people are into horror games or horror films. Like a lot of people like that exhilaration.
Yeah.
Again, past
okay.
experiences. So things like that, or Until Dawn because it's very cinematic and everything.
Until Dawn
then-
is a really good one for if you have a group of people.
Yeah,
Over.
exactly. Be good with a group, and then it can also show a non-gamer. There's a lot more to games than just running and shooting. You know what I mean? That there's actually types. Fighting games I actually found were really good as well. Obviously not for a big group, but like just the fast, mindless.
Any
mentality of
particular
stuff like-
ones or all of them? Jesus.
Mortal Kombat seemed to work for me.
Really? Holy fuck!
Yeah.
I would have thought that would put people way off.
No, it's just the ridiculousness of it.
Which-
You know, you
which
stab someone's
one
eye out and they get.
playing?
It was Mortal Kombat 10.
10. Yeah. Okay. That's actually coming to PS5 as one of the part of the PlayStation collection, which I was really surprised. Actually,
That is surprising. Yeah.
I was really surprised of all the possible fighting games to come over. That Mortal Kombat 10 was the one. I thought that was weird. But anyway, I suppose they couldn't use the new one is too new, isn't it? They're not going to include something that's only out in the last year or whatever it was. But the people, I always thought that like a fighting game is like, you know, it's like, well, I don't know any of the controls and there's too much to learn to just try it out. Like, no.
Well, yeah, but like you can always just tell them the controls.
You just get
Don't be a
good.
dick about it. Like,
No, yeah, but you're not going to be like, okay, I'm going to tell you every single movie. Ready? Listen, you're going to have to take some notes.
no, you just tell them to do what you do, which is mash the buttons. You just mash the buttons. There you go. It's fine. If you just mash
That's
the
why,
buttons,
you know what? That's
you're
why
bound to
back
get
in the
something.
day, with the Tekken games,
Yeah.
Eddie Gordo was a godsend. Eddie Gordo was an absolute godsend for anyone who was just like, I just want to try the game out, and I do not want to learn any of the characters because he was absolutely so user friendly. Like
Yeah,
he was like,
spam X and circle.
he was,
Yeah.
I think he was designed for button mashers, wasn't he?
I don't know.
Pretty much. Yeah, just like you just have to tap like that X and circle.
I think.
Well, it's
I
just
think
because
Raw-
X and Circle
Raw
was
the same,
always-
wasn't
X and Circle was always for the like kicks anyway, and because
Yeah.
Capoeira, which was his fighting style, is mostly kick related. Because Bake from Tekken 2 was been similar. You just spam
Yeah,
X and
yeah.
circle. So any kind of kick related martial art, just spam those two buttons and you're all good.
But the thing with Eddie was because his boobs then bring him down so low, he's also really hard to
Yeah,
hit
he's
back.
hard to hit.
Whereas with Bake, you could interrupt his kicks if you got in a good hit, you know. Yeah. Shout out to Eddie Gordo. He got me into fighting games. Okay, keep them coming then, Eric.
Well, they're kind of it. So like those games where either you don't really have to think about it,
Okay.
right? You can just drive the car or beat the crap out of your friend in the game, or like doing a story interactive such as Detroit or Heavy Rain or Until Dawn would be the one type of ones I'd recommend for non-gamers. I wouldn't give them.
I love that. It's like if it's like you have someone coming up, it's like, yeah, I'm kind of interested in getting into games maybe, but like, where would you recommend? And you just like look at your shelf.
Let me
Them,
see. Yeah.
like all of them. If you play
The
all
fight-
of them,
Yeah.
and
The fighting game genre, that's where I think you should start. Well,
Mario
is there many-
Kart, which
is there
one?
Many of them? Oh,
Just
God.
all of them.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. There's a lot. Yeah. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, should I try
All
one
of
of them Tekkens? Oh yeah, try all of them. Okay, so do you reckon if someone tried any of those games that they could possibly then get into gaming on their own? Or is it only for party scenarios?
No, I reckon someone can find some sort of like satisfaction out of them. That if they wanted to themselves, if they were like, I'm really invested in this, and like, let's say they were playing Until Dawn, but they didn't get to complete it, and God knows when next time they do, and they might be like, you know what, I actually really like that game, I might get it myself so that I can play and see it where I'm going to go with it. You know what I mean? Like, so, but that's again totally up to them. It all depends on the person, even like the type of person, that what game I would suggest.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I actually think of the ones you named. I'd be on par with you with Until Dawn.
Yeah.
I think that one has
think-
the greatest chance of being one where someone would actually go, I actually want to pick that up because I want to see the different scenarios if they get invested in it.
Yeah, well, if
And
I'm
then
trying to
they-
get someone actually into gaming, yeah, I'd use Until Dawn. If I was just suggesting a game to a non-gamer to play, it'd be the other ones. Probably Mario Kart.
Or fucking Angry Birds.
No,
Fucking, yeah, if it's just like,
Candy Crush.
you want to play something right now? Yeah, Tetris. Fucking whatever. Try it. Snake. Who gives a shit?
no,
Yeah.
because we can't both play it at the same time. I also have to get my fix here, guys. Come on.
No, this isn't really for the other person, Eric, is it? This is like
No. This
Yeah,
is for me
hold on.
to deal with them
You're
and
like-
their weird way of life.
check out this new Mortal Kombat game. You'll love it. It's just like you're just opening it for the first time. And you're like, wait, how do you know I'm gonna like it? You're gonna fucking love it, okay? Like I've just been dying to play it. Yeah. Okay. Cool Pula. Adam. I wonder if you've got a slightly more detailed book. And that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same wavelength as what Eric was at. I'm trying to think, like, what does he mean by this question? Because,
E.
yeah, you.
God.
What do you mean by this question?
I thought it was very clear.
Well,
Clearly not.
it's no, not clear at all.
Well, I think your question is very one-sided, and we made it very three-dimensional.
Hey man, that's fair. 3D.
Because it does absolutely depend on the person. I suppose you'd know, like, let's say it's someone who is mad into sports, like, and
Yeah. Okay.
okay, so what game would we
Higher.
recommend to them? Well, it wouldn't be FIFA 21 anyway, would it? We just say save your money and get FIFA 19.
Or don't save your money and go kick a ball.
Don't get a game at all.
Don't fucking support FIFA. Anyway.
But I've had this experience before where, like, my fiance Pagan, she wouldn't have been into games at all,
Wait, who?
and she like, she would have played games when she was younger, like Abe's Odyssey, Tomb Raider, Crash
Yeah.
Bandicoot, etc. But at some point, didn't kind of continue playing games. So the game that I used to introduce her to, well, it was like she understood the appeal. It wasn't like, I don't understand why you play games. I
Right,
don't
yeah,
get it
yeah.
at all. Like, she understood why. It's just not something that she would get into. So the game, I knew she was into acting, character development, performances. So the game I introduced her was Uncharted: Drake's Fortune, and fucking hooked. And I think that's a really great game for a lot of people who, I know that kind of seems like we've talked about Uncharted before, so there's not much we can say on top of that, but
Yes, there is.
okay.
There's fucking loads we can say about Uncharted. We haven't done episodes on Uncharted. We've mentioned Uncharted, but we haven't done an episode on Uncharted: Drake's Fortune.
No.
Was there a specific point where you noticed it's like she's actually really invested?
I think it would have been almost the very beginning, the bit where Sully and Nate are talking about like cutting loose Elena and just going after the treasure themselves.
Right.
Because the camera like movement in that scene, like hopping between the two parties, because you had Elena on the phone to her boss at the time, and then you had so there's actually two conversations going on, and the way it cuts between the two, and the two parties have like this agenda,
Yeah.
and then eventually they do end up leaving her in the boat. I think when she saw that like in that scene, she understood every single one of those characters immediately.
Yeah.
You know, and the rest of the game is watching them develop. It's not like, oh yeah, now we have to introduce their backstory, and like, you don't need to do that because you get them in that moment. You get those characters, and the performances are really, really good. Now I know a lot of people, like, you might say, yeah, but Uncharted 2 is better, Uncharted 3, like, but for someone's first experience, like, Uncharted 1 is still incredible. It's like,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
'Cause in
Jesus.
terms of,
Especially
like-
if you've never played narrative-based games at all.
yeah,
And then if your first exposure is fucking Naughty Dog's, I know they did games before that, right? And I'm not taking away from that, but Uncharted changed the game.
but I think
and put
that was
them
probably
on
the
map.
key as well, is that, you know, like I said, she did actually play Crash Bandicoot when she was younger, and to say, well, this is the guys who made Crash Bandicoot, like,
Right,
or at least the
yeah.
studio that made Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
It is quite like a whoa, okay. After that, like, I mean, it wasn't long. she went out and bought a PS3 after that. So
There you
like
go.
that's so
The
that
proof
would,
is in the pudding.
yeah, that would have been my experience. But I think as well, if it was someone much older, the controller can be quite daunting to look at. You know, like it's like, what do all these buttons do? And then you have to kind of explain, well, each button actually does something different depending on the game you're playing. Like it's like, wait, what?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like to us, it's just second nature. Like we can, it's almost
so
like
used to it.
quick typing nearly, or you know the people can type without looking kind of stuff. But for you're introducing this controller for the first time, what game should you give to them to play? And I think another narrative-driven game, Heavy Rain.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine someone getting kind of caught up. Like the performances in that aren't as good, but I think the story, the mystery, and the drama, and the fact that you're making the decisions, and in quite an easy way, you're pretty much just pressing play essentially.
Yeah.
There's not much to the buttons. I think someone who's a non-gamer who would be interested in like mystery kind of Netflix TV shows or something like that could really get into
right
that
up your
type of
alley.
game.
Yeah, right up your alley.
Um,
The other highlight of Heavy Rain as a game to start off with is there's no game over.
yeah,
You
Like,
can't
yeah.
you can't fail because the story will just continue and take into account, your failure, and actually that might just add to the drama of the experience you're having. And so as a result, you can't really get, unless you know that there's different outcomes and stuff and that you're trying to actually achieve a certain outcome, like doing one of those trophies or something like that.
Yep.
But on your first playthrough, you can't get frustrated with the game and then go, this is actually just annoying and it's not fun. And now that's not to say you won't find Heavy Rain not fun. Some people, they might not find it fun. But I do agree that I think if you're into like Netflix dramas or thrillers or TV shows, mystery shows, that kind of thing, and you've never played a game before, and as far as you're concerned, it's just people shooting each other and I don't get the appeal,
yeah,
then Heavy Rain is a really good one to show. It's like, oh, I didn't realize that there was acting in these things, and I didn't realize there was a musical score to these things, and that there's a storyline. And I think you get really wrapped up and invested in that story, and then
I
you
think
might
that's-
see
yeah,
that other
that's
side of
definitely
games.
one where they would want to, like, even if you just showed them the beginning of it, that's one where they would want to go, oh fuck, like, okay, I can't wait to see the next episode, kind of a thing. Like I think someone would
Yeah.
get hooked into that. I had the opposite effect with that game personally,
Right.
where I didn't think I was going to like it because I didn't think it was game enough.
Which is different, yeah, because you're coming from the perspective of a gamer
Yeah.
as opposed to a non-gamer. Yeah.
But I did absolutely get like just drawn into that story and seeing like where that's going to go and the outcome of it. And to this day, it's my favorite, like, kind of those branching story, multi-ending kind of games. Like, I don't know a single, like, I haven't played all of them, obviously, but out of all the ones I've played, I've never experienced one that had so much like alternative paths as this. There's not as many, because if you play Detroit, it's like, oh yeah, there's like 100 more choices now that you can make in a single situation. And it's like, yeah, but those choices are so minor that you probably wouldn't even notice the difference. Whereas in Heavy Rain, like, the entire scene changes, the character in it changes, the motivation of them changes. Like, I think that would have really strong appeal to someone who isn't who's a non-gamer, like.
Especially if then they have that experience of, like, like if, for example, the Netflix show watcher, right?
Yeah.
Just as an analogy, who might then go, oh my God, have you seen the new season?
You got
What
to
did you
this
think
episode.
about that episode, right? But this time it's like, no, wait, what happened for you? And discussing the show differently, I think about it's like, oh my God, that didn't happen for me at all.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so what happened for you? There's a real appeal in that, I think.
Yeah, the click, that moment when it clicks to see, oh, so there's different outcomes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yes.
those two, So if I was trying to introduce someone who again is more into like drama and acting and performances and stuff like that, but is very put off by the controller, I would choose Heavy Rain. But if they've had some form of game experience and trying to get back into it, like it would be Uncharted would be the introduction.
I think as well, a good thing about starting with Uncharted is right. Okay, the last thing you want to do, I think, if you're going to introduce someone to games and the appeal of games, is show them the newest, most expensive, fucking best graphics game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the mistake in that would be, well, not only like, I mean, in some ways they could be like, wow, I'm blown away, and geez, I didn't realize games could look this good and everything. But you have now just set the bar so high that, you know, they might write off everything else. Something like Uncharted on the PS3, you know, is a good like middle ground game where it's like the graphics are good enough not to be like, that just looks shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, as much as Final Fantasy VII is the best game ever made, and it is the game that got me into gaming, right? And in some ways you might think it's like, well, surely the game that got me into gaming would be the effective game that would get others into gaming. I would not recommend that.
But it's
as
different.
Your first
it's
game,
well, it's a different thing.
right?
Like, and that's another kind of level to this question. Is
Right.
What age are they?
Oh yeah.
So as a child, I
Jesus,
think
I didn't think this deep about this question.
you
You guys are like it's like before I answer the question, allow me to deconstruct the question. What exactly is the question asking me? Lads, it's not a fucking college fucking essay.
As the great Plato once said, "What is a gamer?"
Yeah, the Homo Ludens, according to Huizinga.
I'll put all the citations at the end of the video.
Dude.
Like if as a kid you're kind of, you know, more forgiving of that stuff. Like that's why, like, you know, Minecraft is so popular amongst children that they're not worried that the square people don't look like real people.
Mm.
They're so invested in just the play of it, that they can just run around in this world and do interesting interactions. That's what they're invested in. But as an adult, you've kind of grown out of not the ability to play, but the desire to play.
Yeah.
You know, because even through like education, like, I mean, they tend to shove creativity and play out of you in order to mold you into something that's somewhat useful for society, I guess.
Yeah, that's right, guys.
All right,
this is not actually a gaming podcast anymore. It's a wake up. It's a wake up, sheeple.
Wait till I get to the 5G towers.
Do you know what they're putting in your masks? Oh, I hope you know that's a joke.
So people, I think, like at a certain age, people get a bit kind of like what's the point of it, as opposed to why does there have to be a point? Why can't you just have fun? You know, you don't see fucking that many adults taking off their shoes and jumping on bouncy castle at a kids party. Like, they should, but they don't.
You kidding me? The minute those kids are gone, the adults are absolutely on that fucking thing.
And they go, let's make this more fun, guys. Bring out the fucking fairy liquid. Let's do some stupid shit. Yeah.
Yeah, so like, yeah, when you're asking yourself, like, well, would I introduce them to the game that got me into gaming? It's like, well, yeah, it depends on what age they are, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I have to be honest. I actually think at this point, if you have an appreciation for games as a whole, then you will appreciate Final Fantasy VII. But I don't think at any age I would recommend it as your first game for some. I don't know why, actually, because like it was the game that got me into gaming. But it's a whole different thing. I
think if it was a kid, I would absolutely introduce them to one of the Lego games, depending on what they're into.
I 100% agree.
Like, okay, what do you like? It's like, oh, I love fucking, I don't know, Iron Man. It's like, great.
Lego Marvel Heroes. Here we go. I just gonna actually, on that note, Lego games. I really enjoy them. I have picked up a few over the years. I'm actually looking forward to the new Lego Star Wars. I probably am going to check it out because I just think they're fun. But they are really good ones for if there's like a huge age gap between. So I know
Yeah.
like there was a point where one of our younger cousins was over years ago, and they wanted to play games, and I was like, sure, that's a great way to pass the time if we're going to hang out. Like, yeah, there's an obvious age
Like
gap,
Eric's situation.
right?
Exactly. See.
No, but there's an obvious age gap. But I was like, so like, there's not a lot of games that are appropriate in the catalog of games that I would be playing. So to have Lego games there, it's a really handy one where it's like, I mean, these are fun. I think they're fun regardless of your age. Like even if you're like, oh god, like the dialogue is so childish, because it's for kids. The actual puzzle mechanics and stuff and the different abilities that they give different characters, like there is a huge fun element in Lego games. I know they can be very samey, and so you could go like not doing much different, but I think they're incredibly fun and they are a good one. I think if it was a young person who has never played a game before, Lego is definitely the one I would be recommending. Because there's many different, like, I mean, who doesn't like Lego, first of all? Yeah, like, who doesn't like playing with Lego as a child? Everyone, right? It's the most expensive Christmas present you can ask for. And everyone does it. But then, yeah, they've covered so many different properties and genres and stuff that there's bound to be one of them that's going to appeal. And then they're funny. So they're lighthearted. They always have little jokes and stuff that at least it's you're not exposing them to violence that they're too young for. Not that I have anything against violent games, but like there's no point in trying on Gears of War for a 5-year-old. Like that's
Kidding me?
that's not
Perfect.
appropriate. Yeah, actually, fuck it, put it on. No,
Give him a bit of Doom. Get him into every sort of genre.
listen, kid, you're gonna learn today.
just sit him in front of PT.
Yeah. Check this out. Wait till you
Yeah.
check. Just
If,
walk.
honestly, if that was still around, that would be a great game for anybody ever.
I don't
Apart
think
from
so.
kids. Apart from kids.
Yeah, I would definitely not, PT would not be the game I introduce people to gaming with.
Yeah. I actually wouldn't introduce anyone to any form of horror game actually.
Oh, I think if they were into horror movies, I would.
Yeah, if they're into horror movies, you slap on
Yeah,
PT.
well, yeah, if
Yeah, it's fucking class.
yeah, depends on
Like,
what they're into, but I
in a
think there is a like there's no one person I think that just goes, I'm into horror movies and that's it. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be they're going to be into something else, and that's why I would like pick something like because eventually they'll stumble upon the horror genre of gaming
See?
once they
Yeah.
get into gaming.
Yeah.
But it just seems weird that you would kind of go, like, oh yeah, that one genre that you're into, we'll just find that game. But the other game I would pick for like a young, getting a kid into gaming would be the Pokemon series. I think that is
Oh yeah.
the most ideal game because it's so simple in terms of its like button input. But there's a huge like kind of the collector's appeal, the open like it's quite a large world to explore, interactions. There's nothing in those games as well that's kind of like difficult in terms of dialogue even. Like like some games might be like kind of not mature in the content but mature in what the characters are talking about.
Right.
That could yeah. So it's such a and even like you could play that at any age, and it's still like an enjoyable game.
It's also I suppose there's a whole other media to it, right? Like it's not just a game. There's the cards aspect to it, and the toys, and the merchandise, and the cartoons, the cartoon movies. So there's a whole, you could even before you even give them the game to try out, you could introduce them to cartoons and all first, and then.
And then there's the
array of
app.
expensive presents.
And then this sounds like it's like it's like I was saying, trying to get people hooked on games. Like, and then once you've given them a taste of that, you just slip The Last of Us.
Well, you got to ease them into the hard stuff, Chris.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Come on, you got to hold on.
Oh,
Hold that Last of Us back here. Come on.
Pokemon is a gateway into gaming.
Yeah.
Apparently.
It's Gateway Games. That should be the name of this episode. Gateway Games.
Yeah.
It should also be the name of a studio. It's our studio. We've just been funded. We'd like to
Our
thank
Patreon.
Okay, so I suppose I perceived this question very differently to you
Yes, you
guys.
did.
There's so many layers.
You didn't
so many layers to
understand
this
the
question.
I didn't. No, I
mathematics.
didn't understand the question that I asked.
You have
No,
to
I
read
suppose-
it and then read it again.
In my mind, it was if someone was to ask me what game would you recommend to someone
Mhm.
to get them into gaming, it was like to get them like into gaming in the way that I'm into gaming, right?
That's so selfish of you.
Yeah.
I can only speak for myself. Like, if I'm going to recommend something, I can only recommend something that I
No,
think
but
is
me
good.
and
like.
Adam, we were thinking about the other person when we were
Oh, you
talking.
weren't. You
Okay.
weren't.
Yeah,
You
no,
were
you
trying to
weren't
pass
actually.
the
Yeah, you were.
time.
You were trying
Are
to
you
pass
kidding me?
the
I
time.
had specific people in my head with this, so
You had
enough.
specific experiences that you've already had.
yeah, exactly. That's how I
Okay.
know what I'm talking about. I've been
So-
through some shit, man. I've seen some stuff.
if it was a specific person, right, that changes it.
Yeah.
Because if you know what they're into, obviously, then you're going to recommend something that you think, oh, this is really going to suit your personality. So, yeah, for example, if it was someone that you know is a hardcore horror fan and they really like getting their scare and you want them to try out a game, then, yeah, you'd give them a horror game to try it. Or if it's a young child, then you might give them a Lego game or a Pokemon game or, so obviously, yes, depending on who they are. If they're a sports fan, and they're like, I only like sports games, then I'd go, yeah, can't help you.
You're a lost cause.
It's not really, you're missing out on the artistic. So I was thinking more like to get them into looking at games as not just I don't get it. Like I'm thinking about people who just go, I don't really get it. Like, what's the appeal here?
Then why didn't you ask that question?
I thought that was the question. I didn't. Do you know what? There's
Let's
three
start
ways
again.
three ways of looking at an orange. So the game that I would pick, and the one I've had it in my head a while actually for that question, and it's interesting, one of the ones that you brought up, Adam, because I would recommend Uncharted 2, Among Thieves,
Not
as
the
the
first
game
one?
to get people into gaming. So now, if someone was to say to me, hey, I'm thinking of checking out that Uncharted series, which one should I start with? Then I'd go Uncharted 1. Because you got to play them in order if you're going to play that series, and then when you get to
you
4,
would call them a moron because why on earth would you start with anything that isn't the first one in a series?
yeah, so I'm going to call this next person a moron. If someone's just like, hey, okay, I'm going to try out a game, what game should I play? I have chosen Uncharted 2. The reason I've chosen Uncharted 2 is because it plays better than Uncharted 1. And I think that's just like, even if someone prefers Uncharted 1, Uncharted 2 plays better.
Yeah.
The graphics are better, but they're still not at the height of. So similar thing to what we were saying earlier on, like you don't want to start them with The Last of Us Part 2. Well, that's twofold. You don't want to start them with The Last of Us Part 2 for many reasons. They'll never try a game again. They'll be traumatized. They'll be like, what the fuck is wrong with people? This has just confirmed my suspicions. Games are violent. You're like, no, I swear to God, they're not all like that. So you definitely don't want to start them with that.
They're not like that. Try Mortal Kombat. It's better.
Try Doom. I swear they're not violent. But I just think that Uncharted 2 has so many things in it that then when they like something from it, like if afterwards they go, oh, my favorite bit was this, then it's like, okay, here's a bunch of games I could recommend you, right? So first of all, Uncharted 2's opening, I think, is one of the best openings in video games, period. Full stop. Nathan Drake waking up on a train, hanging off a cliff, bleeding, wondering how I got here, is a perfect way to draw anyone into a story, I think, because you're automatically going to go, okay, so what happened and how did he
How
get
did I
here?
get there?
Right? So it reminds me of
Lost.
yeah, I'm gonna say my favorite opening to any TV show ever is Lost to this day. That opening with that eye, and then just in the jungle, and then noticing a few things before he even gets to the beach, before you even realize that he's just been in a plane crash, right? just like the best opening to any TV show I've ever seen. The best opening to any movie I think I've ever seen is Inception. Similar thing. Start with the close-up shot of like waves. This guy wakes up on a beach. You don't know who he is. You don't know how he got there. You don't know why he's there. And then you catch up, right? And Uncharted 2 has that similar thing. I'm a sucker for people waking up places and you don't know why they're there, and then you catch up. I really like. I just think it's such a strong opening for anything. Maybe if everyone did it though, it wouldn't be. It gets stale fast. But I think that opening will automatically suck you into. It's like, oh, okay, so there's a story here. Like there's real intrigue and real mystery, right? I do think you can play the second one without playing the first one to get a gist of. You know what I mean? Like, I think at that point, it's kind of from Uncharted 3 onwards where they're a bit more interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Uncharted 1 and Uncharted 2 are kind of like just totally separate adventures. The only thing that connects them is the Elena relationship, really. Because the Nathan Sully thing is just like, you just know that there's a timeless relationship there. It's not necessary, like, they don't make references to the first one, but it's when Elena comes in, there's references to the first one, but you can always go back and play the first one then after now you have an appreciation for the character. Nathan Drake as a character is going to grab you. He's going to stick with you. Uncharted 2 is funnier than the first one too, I think. Like I remember us playing that for the first time, and it just had this cinematic quality, and just laughing my ass off at some of the lines of dialogue that were being delivered and some of the snarky sarcasms. I think like there was a good foundation in the first game, but in the second game, you get the like ultimate Drake package. Like he's fully formed. You really understand the kind of character he is and the kind of things that he would say, and I just think it's gas. But then as well, as a game, it offers so many different facets and aspects that I think then you will get a feel for what games as a whole have, right? So the climbing mechanics and the kind of platforming of it, you're going to find that in so many games, right? And so if that's something that you enjoy, now suddenly it's like, okay, well, there's loads of games like that, and here's a whole list of them, right? The cover shooter thing, there's fucking loads of cover shooter games, but then even the fighting the military soldiers and that kind of war zone aspect of it in that particular game, it's like, okay, if you really liked that, you can get more immersed in that kind of shit if you want to try out Call of Duty games and fucking Medal of Honor games and stuff. You can go first person, and there's more of that shit out there if that's what you're after gravitating towards, right? If the story thing is the thing that's grabbing you, like the cutscenes, I was like, to be honest, that's the thing that I like the most. Okay, so you want to check out the Metal Gear Solid games, you want to check out Naughty Dog's next big project, The Last of Us, you play the rest of the Uncharted series. You could even try those choice-based games that are pretty much mostly narrative, Telltale, Heavy Rain, Until Dawn if you want. If the monsters are the thing that grab you, going through that cave, that shot of the fucking monster like moving for the first time, and you go, what the fuck was that? And then trying to deal with it and just shitting yourself and going, fuck, it won't die. And there's more and more of that. And it's like, okay, you might want to try out horror. You might want to like try out a few horror games. The other thing is the different difficulty levels in Uncharted 2. So, like, if you find that then you're like, I'm a person who's up for a challenge. Like, I am up for a challenge. You could put that difficulty up, and the Uncharted games are not easy on the hardest difficulty. No. Like, not by any stretch of the imagination. However, if you find you're like, no, that the whole challenge thing is one of the things that put me off trying games in the first place, like, what if I'm shit at it, or what if I'm no good? On very easy, that game is so accessible. It's really easy to...
I don't know. Like, some bits are still even... Because the thing is with very easy... it doesn't matter what game you're playing. Like, even if you're used to playing games on normal or hard or whatever, right? And you jump into that same game on the easiest difficulty, at first it'll be such a breeze. But if it's your first time playing a game and you go into it, you're only going to put in as much effort as the game is kind of thrown back at you. So the difficulty kind of goes up as you're going through the game.
Right, yeah.
So especially when you get those guardians, towards the end. Like even on the easiest difficulty, if that's all you've been playing, that's all you've been experiencing. Like that's challenging. They're cunts.
Oh yeah, but look,
I hate them, Chris.
Well, I think most end game scenarios get more challenging anyway. So you're gonna have to, no matter what game you recommend, unless it's one of those choice-based ones, or a Lego game, you know, the scaling difficulty is something that you're gonna have to kind of experience as well. I think as well, with Uncharted 2, you won't get caught up with like, it's like, oh, feels bad killing these people. Because Lazarevich and his men are just the most ridiculous, cartoony villains. You know what I mean? Like, Lazarevich is just, I'm a bad guy because I am bad. And it's like, cool, I don't really have to think about it. You know what I mean? Like, Lazarevich is not like the best thing about that game or anything. You know, Graham McTavish does a great job at just being, I am the bad guy. And that's all there is to it. You don't need to know, it's like, why is he a bad guy? What does he really want? Can you kind of see where he's coming from? It's like, no, he's just a fucking bad guy. Blow him up. Who gives a fuck? Get a rocket launcher. Blow up the fuckers. So you can just get lost in the adventure of it. You don't have to, there's no difficult questions here. And I think as well, the story is going to get you, because I think everyone at some point can appreciate a treasure trail kind of adventure story. Right?
Yeah, it's like National Treasure.
Yeah, it's fun. It's more like Indiana Jones, man. Come on, don't.
No, it's more like National Treasure.
What?
Yeah. Well, the second one is Indiana Jones. For sure.
Yeah. It's like Temple of Doom kind of. Temple of the Doom.
Temple of the Doomses.
Temple of the Doomsies. Yeah, it's like Temple of the Doom vibes. I said it again. But is that on a personal note, then, I love when you get to those Asian temples. They're so cool. And I just think that grand scale of seeing things and just being like, this is, like, I'm climbing up this giant statue. This is fucking cool. And then the Himalayas sequence with Tenzin is for me, steals the show. Like, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
And if you find then that traversal is the thing that you, like, if you, like, I remember I was showing that sequence to a friend of mine, Lee. And you get to the village afterwards and you end up having to fight like a tank and you fight loads of people. And he actually said, he was like, not really into the shooting bit here. I think if it was just traversal and monsters, that would have been cool. Which is interesting to me, because it just goes to show that there are many different aspects of the game and people might latch on to very different things. But the other proof is in the pudding, I suppose. My girlfriend wouldn't have been into gaming at all, wouldn't have really gotten, well, again, understood why people liked them, but just didn't really want to play them herself. She saw me play Uncharted 4, and she started kind of getting into the story, but of course didn't have that kind of nostalgic love for Nate and Elena, I suppose, that, you get more if you followed the whole way. But towards, like, later on in the game, I was like, do you want to try a bit? So I'd give her the controller and she would do a bit of the climbing, but she'd only do the climbing. She wasn't up for the shooting yet, right? It was just, the climbing was fun. She enjoyed the climbing. So then when I played the first one, again, now this time she would, so I said, do you want to see the rest of the series? Put on the first one. I would do all the shooting sequences, and this time she would do pretty much all of the climbing sequences. Because she was like, cool, I'll do the climbing stuff. And Uncharted 2, she tried out the shooting. Until later on, she was playing most of it by herself. She was doing the climbing and the shooting, and she was really getting into it. She played all of Uncharted 3 on her own, and then came back and played all of Uncharted 4, and then played The Lost Legacy, and has played and then went back and played the first one on its own, right? So, I think it probably doesn't matter which Uncharted you start with. Like, for me personally, I do think if it's just to see what our game's like, Uncharted 2 is the one I would pick out of the bunch, because I think it's just a great, and then of course you will probably go on and play the rest of them. But I think there's so much in it, and it's such a great example of why people play games, whether you get into just the fun aspect of it, the story aspect of it, the design of it, the graphics of it. It ticks so many boxes that I think it's just a perfect game to start with. And if you don't like any of that, you probably won't like games. Because even like there's comedy in it, there's humor in it. Like, if there's nothing in Uncharted 2 you like, nothing, then I don't know.
You're probably just not human.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say because, like, we haven't mentioned a single open world game here because that can be quite overwhelming. However,
yeah.
if
No,
we're
but-
not into those, like what we just suggested, then perhaps they would be more inclined to be into open world, or perhaps they're interested in games like, was it like Hearthstone or
All right, yeah.
Gwent, etc., like that, or League of Legends, something that's a little bit more kind of competitive online, but not
Yeah.
like shooting, just like tactics.
Yes, yeah.
And that's another kind of like, so it really does come down to, well, what are you into?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
if
and that's
someone
the different thing.
if someone
So, like,
asked me, like, if someone said, well, I'm kind of interested in strategy, I like strategy. In my spare time I play a bit of Sudoku, I play chess or whatever. Like Age of Empires,
wow, what a game.
like that is, because if you're like, I mean, obviously
Yeah.
there's way better RTS games than Age of Empires if you really get into RTS, but that's such an easy game to get into.
There's
like,
only one better one.
and if you're into even history,
Yeah.
if you're into like just whatever, like that is such a cool game to kind of like build your civilization and manage your crops and manage the economy and invade other regions and expand your empire and stuff. And that's, you don't even have to kind of go back far onto, like, that's been remastered for Windows, so it's easily accessible now.
Yeah, I mean, look, it obviously it comes down to, like, if there's a specific person, it changes the topic, right? If it's like, what game would you recommend to Dave, as opposed to just to a
Dave
you know,
sounds like a
we don't-
sports guy. He sounds like I'd recommend NFL or Madden or something like that. A bit of American football to him.
So there you go, Dave. So obviously it's different if you know exactly who you're talking to, right? But this is just in general, what game would you recommend to a non-gamer that you think, that you hope would get them into gaming? For me, it's Uncharted 2. I think it would work. I think that, if you've watched enough blockbusters, if you're into your, any kind of movies at all, really, I think Uncharted 2 is going to get you. And then if you're not into the cutscenes, you can just skip them. You can skip all the cutscenes, and it's so linear that it's going to take you on a straight path. Like, you can't get to a point where, like, I wouldn't start with an open world only because I'd be like, you might just be like, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Where
do
there's
I
a lot
go?
to navigate. Like,
Go
what do
over
I do?
there
What
and
do I
talk to
do?
that person. Why?
Yeah,
Just do it.
this
go-
is stupid.
Go on.
And actually, maybe it's just drawing from experience, because I tried Skyrim with Ash as well. And it,
Yeah,
I
I've
really
had that.
thought I was like,
I've been there.
you get to make your own character. No, but go talk to this guy. You're gonna get this cool quest. It's so cool. It's like being in your own book. Yeah, I'm gonna get on a horse and splash in the river. Look at me, splash, splash, splash. And I'm like, oh god, no, you're not getting it. You're not
You
not
are
experiencing
the
it the way I
mage.
did.
Be the mage.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas with a linear path game, you can't.
Get on a horse and splash in the water.
It's going to show you the experience. You know what I mean? As opposed to asking you to hopefully engage with the experience.
Yeah, well, I do think the
Wanna
key.
give it
Yeah,
to
I
you.
think the key there, and like the way you're saying, like, okay, so you only engaged in the climbing and not the shooting at that point. I do think the key is, well, what is the maximum number of, like, maximum level of entertainment and enjoyment with the minimum amount of input?
Yeah.
Because I do think that what puts off people is possibly they haven't grown up with the controller, and that's quite alien to them. So,
Mhm.
honorable mention:
Oh.
Wii Sports.
Way! Wii Sports and SingStar. No, go on. And Guitar Hero. No, Wii Sports. Yeah, fucking hell. Like,
That got
that got our mom.
everyone into gaming. People that sold consoles, right? Everyone had a fucking Wii for Wii Sports, man.
Wii Sports was actually great.
I am so shocked that there isn't a new one for the Switch.
Yeah.
Like, how is there not a new Switch, like, sports
Why haven't they
game?
done that? What are they waiting for?
It's a crack, Nintendo.
Could you imagine?
Nintendo,
Could you
come on.
imagine playing as like all your Mii characters, but on like a football pitch?
Like-
going around their big bobbleheads.
Nintendo released the Nintendo Sports Machine, which is the next console, and it's purely for playing the new sports. But like the bowling,
VR.
even the bowling was great. Like holding the trigger on the remote and
Yeah.
then letting it go and then if you let go too soon, you'd fuck up the throw, and you're like, okay, so I have to bowl like actual bowling. Like I have to wait till it's at the right spot before I let go of the ball.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
And like anyone could play, you know, like because the input was so minimum, and it somewhat like came back to, like your actions in reality. So another, I suppose, great way to introduce people to games would be the VR, because
Fuck
again
yeah.
the input is so simple.
I think though that's more of a check out this cool experience. But I don't think that's going to make someone go home and buy games.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think someone's going to go, wow, that was incredible. And I will be telling people about it today. And I'll be telling other people, like, oh, you got to try that sometime. It's nuts. But it's not indicative of what, like, gaming is like. Really. It's
Possibly.
only because it's VR gaming only.
But I do
You know?
recall, like, but when the PSVR came out, like that thing was so difficult to get. And
Yes.
a lot of it was like, you know, the kind of units you could try out in like Joyce's here in Wexford, like they had the unit so you could try it on, and like people walked out of the store with it, and we're talking people who didn't even have a PlayStation, so they buy the whole fucking package just to go
Wow.
down in a fucking shark cage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that is fucking cool, though.
It is cool. It's cool, but that just shows you
And
the
it's
power
the only
of
way
it.
you're going to get me into a shark cage ever. Is... Well, okay. What's the most extreme thing that you guys would try and do? Whether it's like a shark cage thing or skydiving or bungee rope jump. Like, if you had to do one of those kind of extreme things, what's the most? What would you do?
Well, what would be extreme to me? What exactly is the question, Chris?
You know what I'm talking about. Fucking, if you had to do one of those like extreme thrill style things, like which one would you be more inclined to do? Like, for example, skydiving is.
I would absolutely get into a fucking shark cage before jumping out of something high.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like jumping out of a plane is like the opposite of anything I'd ever fucking do,
Yeah.
because you're definitely not supposed to. You're not supposed to jump out of a plane. Going under the water, however, that's a bit more that's a bit more accessible.
And also,
definitely get the
there's,
shark cage first.
like, the shark isn't always going to attack you. In fact, there's a probably less likely chance.
Sharks
that the
don't
shark is-
attack cages.
I think of
Well,
all of
there you
them,
go.
because I would shit myself, but I think of all of them, I would do the shark cage. I wouldn't bungee jump off a bridge. Fuck that.
No way.
I watch videos of it, and I just like, how the fuck did they do that? I couldn't possibly. I wouldn't even get a tattoo. I'm so vanilla.
I mean, I think safari, maybe like a safari drive.
Most extreme thing you could do.
That's not that
That's a
extreme.
good one. That's a good one. Yeah, it's like I would look at an elephant with a binoculars. That's the
Yeah.
most extreme.
No. See, the animals.
I
aren't the
would
extreme
eat
part.
the
It's
spiciest
people I'm stuck
vindaloo.
with.
It's being no. It's like the most extreme thing I would do is go to a shopping mall.
Oh god, I have to deal with all those non-gamers.
I'm curious to ask you, Eric.
Yeah, sure.
Just on this topic actually of games and getting people into gaming. So I think me and Adam have cited before the game that got us into gaming, and it might not be the first game we ever played, but it would be the game. It's like, no, if I had to say any game, it's the game that got me into gaming, and they also happen to be our favorite games. Would I be right in saying that, Adam?
Yes.
Would you cite Metal Gear Solid as the game that got you into gaming?
Mhm.
And I would cite Final Fantasy VII as the game that got me into gaming, right? But your favorite game came much later, right? But I'm curious. In
Whatever
your
that is, yeah.
whatever that is, yeah. Is it The Witcher? Is it Skyrim? Who knows? Maybe it's
Could be the
Knack-
order. Could be Mario Kart.
could be Knack. But I'm curious.
Oh, fuck Knack. That's too hard.
I'm curious as to which game you would cite as the game that got you into gaming, because I haven't a clue what it is, and I don't think Adam knows either. And I'm wondering, do you even know?
I would have just said you guys.
So,
Like,
is there
well,
not
I'm
game-
not a game.
Is there not a game in your memory? It's like that's the game that I think got
Well, I
me.
suppose Hot Wheels would have been the game I probably first played. I would have played that a lot on the basis of wanting to hear the song Fuel.
Yeah, but like my first game that I played was Abe's Odyssey. It's not the game that got me into gaming.
Yeah, but I was easily swayed into things back in the day.
Dash,
So
I am hooked.
I love games.
I am going to
Games
spend
have
when I start
fuel.
earning money. This is what I'm putting my money into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've that or probably be Metal Gear Solid.
Okay. Coolaboola. What's the first game you ever bought? With your own money.
Was
So
it
not
not,
as- so
was
not-
it not like Uncharted or Mirror's Edge?
It could have been. I think Uncharted was bought for you, was it? That's a present? Could have been Mirror's Edge.
No, the two you bought Uncharted. And yes, didn't you not putting your money together?
No,
picked
I'm
up
pretty
Uncharted?
sure I saw that in like a shop up in a Dublin shopping mall and went, Dad, we want that. And it was like, okay.
Yeah, because I remember me and Eric saw the trailer for the first Uncharted. We were very excited for it.
Yeah.
But at that point, I had no clue what like game releases were, like what the schedule was or when they come out. It would just be a case of you walk in one day and go, "Wow, it's on the shelf," you know.
Yeah.
Look, there it is. I actually the first game. That's an interesting question. First game you ever bought? The first game I ever bought, right? Myself with my own money. So people, you must bear in mind that this doesn't mean it's the first game I ever played. I played many games before this. They were all Adams. Or they were bought for us, maybe, as a present.
Yeah,
or
you
whatever.
definitely had to beg your parents, no, to
Yeah.
go down and get
But
me
the
that game.
first one that I ever bought with my own money, it was my birthday money. And to be honest, I'm kind of not happy about it. If I'm being totally honest, right? Because I don't like the fucking game. So it's a real shame that the first game I ever bought for myself isn't one that so now I can hold up as like. I know a lot of people do like it. I paid full price for 60 quid. Final Fantasy 12. It was the first game I ever bought for myself. I was so shocked when that got a fucking remaster. People loved that game. I hated it. I didn't even complete it. I was trying, and I was really excited for it. I remember looking at the magazine. I had just played lots of Final Fantasy X, and it got really sucked into that. And I don't know, from like some of the magazine interviews that I read and some of the trailers, I kind of thought this was going to be similar. I thought I had a vibe of it, and I was like, great, I want more of that. Give me more of it. I'm well for it. And so kind of on the enjoyment of Final Fantasy X alone, which is why Final Fantasy is such a strange series. You kind of can't just go, if I like one of them, I'm going to like all of them. Like, unlike Uncharted, if you like Uncharted 1, just go buy Uncharted 2 and don't bother read a review, and then go buy Uncharted. Buy them all. Just buy the whole fucking lot in one go, and you will enjoy all of them, guaranteed. But with Final Fantasy, I should not have bought Final Fantasy 12 just because I enjoyed 10. They're so fucking different in vibe, in story, in music, in gameplay. The only thing they have in common is they both have a fucking annoying blonde protagonist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a couple of summons. That's about it. But yeah, that's the first game I ever bought with my own money.
Good
So
job.
sorry for you.
Thanks, guys. I did much better. I think the next one I bought with my own money, though, was the special edition of Arkham Asylum.
That's pretty good one. Yeah, good job. You redeemed
which
yourself.
was also a birthday money, and yeah, that one, mwah, super duper. And what do you remember was the first game you ever bought with your own money?
Pokemon Yellow.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's much better than my story.
He's been into he's been into this business a very long time.
Yeah.
Buying all your own games.
That was with my well, like, I mean, I can't remember what the first game I bought with my own earned money, but that was money gifted to me, obviously, for my communion, I think, or confirmation, one of them. But I remember with my money from either one of them two, I went and bought the Game Boy Color and Pokemon Yellow with that money,
Wow.
Shit, man.
which was the first console I ever bought.
That's right.
Yeah.
and it was fucking cool.
It was
Where
class.
did the Sega Mega Drive come from? Because I don't mean as a whole. Like we had
we
one.
ended up with one.
Where the fuck
It
I don't remember
was
where that came from.
a friend who wasn't using it lended it to us and never
Never
got
sent
it
shit
back.
to us. We are so bad.
No, I'm okay. Yous two are bad. I learned from yous what to do when it comes to being lent a game. So I clear a game in a week and give it back to them to make sure they get that game back.
Well, it was
Because I
when I say lend though, it wasn't like, oh yeah, you can have that for a week or whatever. It was like, here, have that. Like we're getting rid of it pretty much.
That's not lend. That's not lend.
Yeah, that's very different.
So he gave it to us, like.
Yeah, gave it to us.
Or at least that's what I heard anyway when he said, "Would you like to borrow this?"
Look, I'm not really sure what the actual specifics of that conversation were. I ended up with a Sega Mega Drive and Street Fighter 2, and that's all that matters.
I fucking played the shit out of Street Fighter 2 on the Sega Mega Drive. That was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's terrible though that I saw the movie first, and the reason I liked the characters was like, these from the movie.
Yeah.
That movie was class.
That's how that happens, isn't it? Same with like when we played one of the Mortal Kombat games. I was like, I think it was Mortal Kombat Deception. I think was the first one I ever played.
Yeah.
And it's only later on I started to appreciate the game modes and stuff I had. Because at first I was like, this is stupid. Where's all the characters? Like, I don't know any of these people. Where's Johnny Cage? You know what I mean? Because they had such a different roster. There was very few of
Did you
the
not play that in
OGs.
the arcade? Mortal Kombat.
Never.
Mortal
No,
Kombat
no. It was
2.
different. There was another fighting game there. We spoke about it before. I still can't fucking remember the name of it. But I remember playing that there. But I never played. And I played Marvel vs. Capcom.
Oh yeah.
Arcade as well. Which was great fun. Such a weird mix. Such a strange mix. But very fun. Anyway, we're going totally off topic. If
If you just can remember what we were talking about, those were the games we recommend to non-gamers.
yeah, what
We
the
all
fuck?
agreed, wasn't it? Arkham Asylum.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, Skyrim, wasn't it? No, okay, well look, from me, it's Uncharted 2. That unless you're someone specific and then I narrow it down and it changes. For just in general, fucking hell, lads. For
Sorry,
me,
Chris.
the game that I'm recommending to non-gamers to get into gaming and to realize why I like gaming or what I get out of it, Uncharted 2 is the game I recommend. You can only, well, I'm not going to say you can only go up from there because it's very possible Uncharted 2 could become your favorite game, and I wouldn't argue with you. But technically and graphically, they do get better. But you will also be at a point where you can still appreciate the stuff that has come before it as well, I think. You know, you won't have reached the ultimate peak in technology and graphics at that point. Was there one out of the ones that you said that you just want to give particular emphasis to?
Uncharted 1.
Uncharted 1. Yeah, you can't go wrong. Like, pick up the Nathan Drake collection.
Do you know what's like? Isn't it mad that like if for someone the PS5 is going to be their first ever console, and with the PS Plus collection,
Yep.
like it'd be so interesting if what's their first game that they're going to play on that out of that collection, you know?
That's really
But they have the
interesting.
entire Uncharted collection on that as well,
No.
isn't it?
No, it's just Uncharted 4.
And Nathan Drake collection.
No. Nathan Drake collection's not there.
I thought it
Uncharted
was.
4, last
But-
year's remastered God
But
of
you
War.
can still get the Nathan Drake collection for it because
Yeah.
It's on PlayStation Plus store or PlayStation
Yes.
Store.
no, but as well, you can, like if you have it on PS4 or if you pick it up on PS4 for very fucking cheap now, it'll play on PS5. That was crazy when they announced how few games are not compatible. But our entire fucking library of games is compatible with the PS5.
Yeah.
There's 10 games. It's not even worth mentioning. There's 10 games that won't play on the PS5, and nobody
For
has them.
definite. Yeah.
Well, okay, no, I'm being a bit mean. I'm sure someone has Hitman Go, but I don't know about the rest of them. So, yeah, like literally every other game is compatible. Fucking great. I think that's crazy. But yeah, it's mad to think that like, and the Xbox Series X, they're going to be some people's first ever console. What's the first game? What's going to be their introduction to gaming?
Yeah.
That's so interesting to me. But anyway, we'd love to know what everyone else would recommend to people? Like, what would be the game that you think would get people into gaming? Someone is going to go Symphony of the Night. Obviously, it's the best game ever. Or so, like, who knows? You'll have your own reasons, but let us know in great detail as well.
Tetris.
Show us down. We want essay. We want citations. We want you to break down the question before you answer it.
Sorry, Chris.
Really dissect it. But actually, Eric, which of the games you said? Because Adam said Uncharted. Which one did you say you would give particular emphasis to?
Horizon Zero Dawn.
You never fucking
mentioned that.
No,
I know.
that's
Probably it would be Until Dawn.
Until Dawn.
Yeah.
You know what the strange thing is as well, actually, on that one, because like we have evidence that Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 1 work, right?
Right.
I also have evidence that Until Dawn works.
Yeah.
I know people who played that, had no interest in gaming, and actually did join in, get sucked into it, really invest in the characters, and then wanted to play other games. They ended up playing Outlast with us.
Wow.
Crazy.
We know our stuff.
That's what I mean. Like, horror games do work as well for people who are not into gaming, because the thrill of the fear and that kind of aspect of it,
Yeah. I know what I was talking about when I brought up horror games.
No, I think you're right. Horror game, but Until Dawn is a good one. It's because it's not too scary, but it's scary enough, and it's fun enough. So those are the games that we're putting particular emphasis on, but there was a lot there mentioned as well. Check out the entire fighting games catalog.
Yeah.
But those are games we would recommend to non-gamers. So please get in touch to let us know what you would recommend to non-gamers, and also let us know what game got you into gaming, if you can remember. What was the first game you ever bought for yourself? Which might not be the same thing as what was your first game. It's what was the first game you ever picked up yourself. Did it turn out like Pokemon Go, where you were like, hey, I got a classic? Or were you like me and you picked up something that you were disappointed with, even if other people really liked it? Or you're like Eric and you haven't a fucking clue which one you got. So, listen, if you're watching this YouTube, jump into the comments, let us know all the answers to those questions. If you're listening on social,
Spotify.
Let's do it again. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or any other audio platform, let us know on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, @TheBrothersTake, what games you would recommend and all that other stuff. We'd also really appreciate it, guys, if you're watching YouTube. Maybe hit subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the notification bell so that you know when we put out new episodes and bonus segments. They come out randomly. Thank you very much for listening. We will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.